Hello there, my name is Marcus and welcome to my top 50 games of all time. Yes, last year I only did the top 20. This year it has been expanded. I can't talk. It's been expanded to 50. So 30 more games, you know, quick maths. If anyone knows that reference in the year of our Lord 2024. I was actually supposed to release this. I'm gonna do it in bunches of 10 because I'm very much inspired by the Dice Tower, I might as well admit. And it was like supposed to be released so that it would fit that the top 10 was on my 2 year anniversary. You know, that's on the 27th of April. So maybe I'm gonna do that. Maybe I'm just gonna do 2 uploads per day. But that would just be 2 uploads Friday. Maybe that's actually doable. By the time you watch this, I've made my decision. Anyways, so obviously I'm doing the 10 at a time. So this is 50 through to 41. There's one quick caveat, well, 2 quick caveats. So the first one is I'm not doing double. So for example, I have one bunch of tickets rides where you could say Rails and Sails, Northern Lights, Germany, Nordic countries, the regular ticket ride, ticket ride Europe. They're all games in their own right, but I'm only counting putting one of them on the list. They could, most of them, not Rails and Sails perhaps, could make it into my top 50. The same with Soloredo behind me here. There's a bunch of editions of it. I'm only choosing my favorite edition of them, put it on the list. The other caveat is I have a little over 100 games here. I have made almost 20 episodes of 5 games I've played. Quick maths, that's also 100 games. I've probably played 100 more, so I played a lot of games I could do a ranking of. I'm only going to do rankings of games I've rated at 8 out of 10 or above. And the reason I'm cutting it at 8 is because I feel like 8 is the start of the really good games. 7 are good games. In my collection they've belonged to my cape. 8 is the start of the really good games. You know, of course that's 9 and 10. So all games here rated an 8 out of 10 or higher. Obviously the start is at 8 out of 10. But that's the 2 caveats that I have. Let's get into it with number 50. I don't know if I'm going to do something fancy. Maybe I will spend the time to do that. Number 50 is going to be Evolution New World. So this was my introduction to the new Evolution series, which is a long spanning series. I believe it started in 2009, I think. Quick Google search can say that. But yeah, I got this game and I have to say I was sort of impressed by it. It's not the perfect game, no game is, but I was impressed by it. I like how it made take that elements be natural, because that's the theme of Evolution, is evolution, fight for survival. That's the theme. I love that. The traits are very interesting, trying to make a really good mix without making it, you know, too difficult to keep alive. So many interesting aspects to it, fighting for the food, fighting against your opponent, and creating this one. A very interesting game. Number 49. This is the first re-entry from last year. This was 18th last year, so dropped down quite a bit. That is not quick math, that's like 31 spots down, but still a good game, still a fun game. It's abstract scoring, which I love. It's Cascadia. Of course that's the nature, but it's not very a thematic game, but it is this abstract scoring, putting the game together, the correct patterns and the correct animals in the correct patterns, of course, to try and create the highest scoring area. It's super interesting how you score. The gameplay is simple, which is great. You need simple gameplay when you have this complicated scoring. Lovely, and multiple cards to change up the scoring is also just a great touch. So all around, a really good game. But it has dropped down. Why has it dropped down? Well, the number one is I've expanded the list. When you expand the list, some are going to drop down automatically. Cascadia, quite a massive drop. It's difficult to exactly explain why Cascadia has dropped by so much. There's a bunch of the games that released that I've played that I just think are better than it, and I'm finding myself less and less attracted to games like Cascadia. I would prefer more thematic games or Ticket to Ride. So that's why it's sort of dropped this far down. At number 48 we also have new games from last year. Obviously there's going to be some new games because it is The Girl Who Made the Stars. This of course came alongside Solani. It's a very interesting game. It takes a very different kind of theme and makes it work really well. The reason I like this way better than Solani is because it's mathematic. You have to create the star patterns to light your way. That's the story of it, and you're enacting that story constantly. And then you are hunting to survive, because you are hunter-gatherers in Africa. It's such an interesting game, not super abstract scoring, but lovely with the tile placement of the hexagons. We all know those are the bestagons. With that one, and then the worker placement, getting out there, the thing to hunt. Two very interesting elements that are mixed together really well. So that is the girl who made the stars, my number 48. At 47, we have Granda Deluxe Master Set. Now I want to say a first negative thing. I hate the fact that I sold a set that was 30% bigger. This set already takes up so much space. And the fact that you have one that's 30% bigger, just to make it 30% bigger, there's no other reason for that, is insane to me. I hate that kind of stuff. There's no need to make it 30% bigger. Absolutely not. So, just wanted to get that out of the way. A lot of table space is not necessarily a good thing. But this one I love through the way it uses cards. You have 4 areas around your farm. Each area represents a different way of utilizing the card. And that is awesome. You have to utilize every single area if you want to get the most out of your cards. So it's just about which card do I put where. Super, super great. And you have some interesting usage of the dice. They roll a number and you sort of draft the numbers. I'll call that drafting, yeah. And then everybody gets one of them as well. So that's another interesting layer, right? The last choice is interesting because you get one, but you also give the other ones one of those, right? Super interesting with that elements as well. And yeah, it really is the card play, building up your farm. That's really the amazing thing about this game. So yeah, it's number 47 for a reason. 46 is EOS First Continent. What do you call it? Bingo-esque game. You draw from a bag and then you place it. We actually played this very recently, so. But it's good. One thing I would say bad about it is the amount of cards you have. It's very difficult to visualize it. And there's definitely a lack of cohesion in the starting decks. I would just build my own decks to make it cohesive, ready for new players. Definitely. But I like it. When something is drawn out that you can use, it's about where can I use it. Usually you have multiple choices. At least if you are keeping a somewhat good area down here, you have multiple choices. And then you of course have the aspect that if you can't use it, you can just turn your tile over, and at the second and third time you have some choices. So take your pick very easily. And you don't necessarily need more cards than the ones you started with, but it makes it easier to get different cards, knowing that to do different things if you draw cards. But that's a great way of utilizing, like, oh, I would have had bad luck, I can use it down here, I can use it over here. Something that's good, strong, but not overpowered, right? It's a good thing to use, but you would rather have it on your cards. And you can do some combos, fracking hell, my language right now. You can make some combos, which is of course really awesome. They're difficult to use and it takes a little bit of luck, but when you really get a combo down, I mean, you can score, we counted up, 36 points at some point. That's an insane combo. But that's what you can do in a game like this. So it's really great. A lot of luck involved in the drawing of it, but you can somewhat mitigate it. So yeah, EOS First Continent 46. Number 45, Dinosaur World. We're talking about another table clogger. I mean, this new table that I got here is smaller. I don't know if I can play either Granda or Dinosaur World on this table. We might have to use the living room table next time we play. I like Dinosaur World for, I think, 2 main reasons. So number 1 is dinosaurs. I mean, when we played it, we have like a deal. The favorite dinosaurs go to the favorite people. My wife gets the Triceratops. I get the Spinosaurus. I have a friend who really likes the Stegosaurus, so he gets it when we play. Right, that's the deal we made internally. You don't have to do that. So I like that. And one thing that I find the funniest is if someone dies in your park, that probably means you're doing well. That is such a funny element. My wife hates it and wants to play safe and have a safe place to go, and she just does not win. Whilst me and sometimes other people who play it, we like have a couple of deaths, not like 10 deaths, 1, 2, maybe 3, and we win. And I think that's the funniest aspect. Like, if some people die, you have a good park. It's so funny. And again, you're mixing in, I talk a little bit like in The Girl Who Made the Stars. This is more prevalent. We have some worker placement going out there, and then you have building your grid here. It matters where you place the different things. Your jeep goes out, scores point. But I find it the funniest thing in the world that a safe park is not a good park. Hey, it's thematic. You're actually park, people die. So yeah, number 45, Dinosaur World. If I should say something to Dinosaur World and La Granja, I think it's the size of them that keeps them down. They are just too big on the table, right? And a little bit too complicated, I think. But then again, we'll talk later. Number 44, we're going in a completely different size. I can show you actually. So, just a comparison. This is La Granja from the side, and this is Tic Tac KO, my number 44. First of the 2-player games. I actually have quite a few 2-player games on my list. That's just because we play a lot of 2-player games. Tic Tac KO is how it sounds, right? It's tic-tac-toe, but with this one is the dragons versus unicorns. You can also have good versus evil, which, as far as I can see, is mostly bunnies versus skeletons. It's what you're into. Dragons and unicorns was the first one. I'm very happy that I have that one. It's really cool. But basically, you have these cards that you try and put down in certain patterns. It's not just 3 in a row. It's very certain patterns that's randomly given to you. And then they have some magical abilities like move your opponent, move this, eliminate that. These kinds of things just makes it a little bit different. I like it because, first of all, tic-tac-toe is a fine game. It's very simple, but it's very fine. 3 in a row, yes, yes. This takes that very fine concept. I think, tic-tac-toe is actually rated one of the lowest games on Board Game Geek. But I think it's very fine. It's like 5. I can't remember if I rated a 5 or a 6, but it's one of those two, right? Alongside chess. Very fine game. Basic, but really fine. You can always play them. Tic-tac-KO takes it and just bumps it up and makes it so much more of an enjoyable experience. Now it's not just like a stalemate until someone makes a stupid mistake. It's like, okay, I'm pretty good set here, and then you just play like eliminated. God, oh my God, what do I do now? So yeah, it's lovely just changing up the tic-tac-toe like that. And if you were to do more of these, where you take an old game and just mix it up like a little bit, right? It has the core of it, but mixes it up. I would love to see some more of that. Tic-tac-toe, my number 44. Number 43 is also a small game. It is Trails. This is a small box version of Parks, where you go back and forth, buying up some cards, trying to take some pictures. And you have less resources, and it's lovely. It's such an awesome travel edition of Parks. Like, if you like Parks and you like to do a little bit of travel, get a hold of Trails. It's so easy to bring along. It's such a small box. It's easy to set up. It doesn't take a lot of space. It's just perfect for a traveling board game. And that's why I really like it, because we've brought it on some travels and we've played it, and it's just been very easy to do in a tent, in a caravan, in a plane. I haven't tried it in a plane, I will be honest, right there. But it's easy to bring out if you're in a summer house. That's not what you call it, but a vacation house thing. And there isn't a lot of table space, right? We were a place where there wasn't that much table space. The only place that really was a table space was the dining area. There was almost always food out. This was so awesome to have there because it doesn't take much space. So yeah, Trails, I think, and like as I said, Parks, I really like Parks. It's gonna show up later, don't you worry about that. And it's just a small version of that, moving back and forth. This time you have canteen to empty to jump. But it's a lovely little back and forth game, and you can end up in a very asymmetric place and don't know, you just need to keep track of your own guy. So yeah, just lovely little resource collection. Yeah, 44, no, 43. At number 42, it is a card game that is called Lings. Lings is a simple enough card game where you try and create an area with as many Lings as possible that score in various different ways, many different ways to score. You have green, red, blue, all these ones scoring are different ways, and then you're trying to go through a deck where once in a while there's an apocalypse thing. It's an age deck, right? So each age has a different rule, and then you have the apocalypses which are just terrible. And then the last apocalypse comes and just game ends and fuck you what you're trying to do. I love that. Going through the deck, it gives you a sense of urgency. You have an idea of when it's going to arrive, but you don't know for certain, which is just great that you can sort of predict it and know. Now going through 2 and 2 extra ages, which means it's probably going to arrive within the next 2 or 3. So let me try and plan for that, and then it's the next card, and it's like, that's great. A little bit of predicting, but not a certainty. That's lovely. And yeah, of course a lot of luck, like there is in card games, but I think it's a really lovely little card game. Just be careful not to get too many cards, because then it's impossible to play. That's probably what I have to say. Number 41, Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I enjoy myself a polyamorous game from time to time, most of the time. A lot of them is on a board restricting where you can place it, which is actually where polyamorous is really great, because you have to move around with the shapes and you have to take it one by one, which is not the greatest thing. Castle of Mad King Ludwig takes that and says no borders, you just build. And that's lovely. There's of course rules for the green areas can't have stuff in front of it, but in that there's no rules. I mean, there's only like you're going to score minus points, but that's okay if you place it somewhere else. So that's the only restrictions that there really is. And then when you close off a room, you get something good there. So a lot of lovely ways to move it around. And this auction way, you know, you decide where it puts, but you get to buy last. Very interesting. And there's different tactics. You can go have like a list of like the 3 where you want in order, or you can just buy the cheapest possible option, like one of my friends did. He did end up winning, so maybe that's a viable option. But then again, we also just constantly gave him the same kind of room. How OP is that? So yeah, very lovely, and keeping an eye on the square space. A lot of small things to look at, but a lovely game. Castles of Mad King Ludwig, a different polyamorous, but polyamorous nonetheless. That's the first 10. I don't know how much time went by there. I hope not too much time. My camera hasn't beeped, so that's a good sign that it isn't too long. Of course, I'm gonna have to do some kind of editing in there. So only one game from the original 20, last year's 20, but we'll see if that doesn't change. That was 50 to 41, and I'll see you whenever I decide to do 40 to 31. If it's tomorrow or later today, I don't know. Yeah, this is what happens when I mess up my schedule. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye!